Hi, Chris.
Christina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Outstanding. I'm doing well. And I think this is, by the time we post it, going to be episode number 20. So happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary. And I think it might be 21, but we'll see. We'll
Yes.
see.
Well,
Uh, I mean, that could be a miscalculation. Either way, happy anniversary because that is quite the accomplishment. And I did count the other day, or I was aware that we have done approximately 20 episodes, and I was really dang proud of ourselves. I mean, that's like 20 episodes of really like doing what we love and enjoying ourselves. And this started as an idea from me, and you jumped right on it, and I have been very blessed and very pleased, and it just gets better every episode we record. I'm like, I want to do it more. So thank you, Chris.
thank you. So now is probably a great time because I think I always forget to do this. But if anyone out there listening is interested in being on the podcast, reach out to Christina or myself. And we're scheduling now for second week of February through March.
Right. And we usually record at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays, but we're very flexible. So we're whatever time zone or country you're in, we can, find a time that we can all three of us show up. So don't try to, stress out over the little details. We just want you if this resonates with you. So come on.
Good. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my friend, Alex Sabbag. Alex is currently in her casita in Iowa, riding out the winter part of the pandemic, and we'll call it third coastal. So she splits time between the Midwest and Southern California. I'm very much looking forward to seeing her when we both get back out there in the next few weeks. Alex she's a powerhouse. She works with early stage, pre-seed, seed, Series A, we'll call it wellness organizations, but typically around pharma and or insurance. So the work that she's doing is impacting a significant amount of people, particularly on this side of the pandemic. So welcome to the Soul Dive podcast, Alex. And she also gave us her name.
She did.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'm happy to be here.
Great. Yeah. I'm so honored to be able to serve the person that gave us our name. So can I just start the party? I already got stuff.
Go for it, mama.
All right, here we go. We're
right.
already in her records. We're working hard. The first image that I saw coming up is you in the exact same outfit that you have on right now, like comfort, but like you next to like you're in like a medieval house with like a big cauldron, like a big black cauldron. But you're like looking like modern day Alex and you have this huge paddle, and I can see like you just like stirring and you're just having a great time. I don't know anything about you. I don't know your background, but I will say the phrase modern day witch came into my head. And then I saw some chocolate chip cookies, like homemade chocolate chip cookies. And I heard, honey, you need the sugar. And that's where I went first. And Chris, I guess you go next. And then anything that you want to elaborate on or ask about, of course, we can explore, Alex.
Yeah. So before we started and before we joined, and I was just walking down this hallway being escorted by my guides, my hoods, right? And came to the end of this hallway, and there was this royal feminine figure, and it looked a little bit like the witch in Snow White, which I thought was interesting, but it's like very pale white. This is before, we all joined. It's like, oh, that's interesting. And I was just asking, just to get a direct line of connection with Alex's, energy. So we got there, and then the face changed a little bit, and it was more of just like an orb, right? So it was just an energetic orb sitting on top of this outfit. And then when I went into your records, Alex, I saw you on horseback as modern day Alex, but in full horseback riding outfit, hair pulled back. You look very steady, very certain, very much in the proper place. So somewhat elevated, right? I think is the theme that I'm getting from these two introductions, and regal in that sense. And I don't want to call you a princess because that could be interpreted as something even derogatory. But it's like this bloodline is really interesting. So I think bloodline is not something that's come up with you and I before, but probably something that we've been, dancing around over the past 6 months. So I said bloodline, and I think that's where we're going to go. So what questions do you have on that for Miss Christina?
What an opening.
Bloodline.
Okay, I have a couple things actually. So the horseback thing has come up with you before, Chris. So
Did it?
it was Joan of Arc last time. And
Oh.
and I grew up riding. So I negotiated my way into a pony when I was 85.
Oh,
So, princess in whatever sense you want to spin it might be appropriate, knowing that history. I love horses. I very much identify with. I love their power and softness, like everything about them. And I can't bring myself to go back because I don't know how to do it just recreationally. I traveled. It was like this whole, like I was the weird horse kid, right? Like I didn't play sports. I rode horses, and so that's totally something that, like that equestrian. All of my stuff is in this house. Like it's in the basement. My saddle, my tack trunk, like everything. I even found my old saddle blankets, and I'm like, I need to go back out to the bar. Like the barn is down the street where I like grew up riding. So I'm in my like childhood home. I was living in this house since I was in 4th grade. So there were a lot of things like that sort of spoke to that. So the horses, yeah, totally. I had my like palm or something read when I was 10 in New Orleans, and that person, which is bizarre because my mom like never would like go there, but she did somehow. And they were like, "You're royalty." And I'm like, you say that to everybody, right? But it stuck with me. I was like, I'll take it. That's a really great regal. I love it. I love all of that. So sure, maybe there's a weak connection there. But the cookies, so that's what my mom bakes. And I'm like in the kitchen, I'm like to the side of the kitchen. And so she was talking about them like just the other day, and she's in California and I'm in Iowa, obviously. So we're not even together, but that's always like the go-to thing with her. And oddly enough, like I just come off of like a few weeks of being like, saying you're sick in the middle of the pandemic is like the wrong thing to say, but like before COVID, like we could be sick and it was all cool. Like you didn't lose friendships over it. So I've been sick for like weeks, and it was scary. It was like headaches. And then it was like, it just sort of moved to this like exhaustion, and it was bizarre. I've never felt anything like that. And I like, finally, I was like, got my appetite back last night, and ate not only like a giant pork tenderloin entree, but then followed it up with a cheeseburger and like a pastry. I don't know.
No.
well, honey, you need the sugar, whatever that is for you.
I'm feeling much better. So I do have low, I don't know, my blood pressure's low. I just got a bunch of blood work done because, that's what you do when you can't figure it out. So I don't know, like there were some things there that like were pinging, but I don't know if those connections make sense or
Oh,
what.
they do. Well, if they make sense to you, then that's what it is. So
Yeah, it was the cauldron and the medieval, like cool.
I feel like that's a little residual of the past life because I already like kind of went back there and was like,
Yeah.
okay, what is this? But I get kind of a theme of a lot of your lives, if you don't mind me saying. A lot of them were just a little bit unconventional, like in a lot of your lives where you were just a little bit different than everybody else, where you were doing things a little bit differently, where you were living a little bit out of the norm. And so while you were talking about horses, I got that there's a reason you're being drawn back to the horses, and horses are actually very, very spiritual, and they're very deep, and people who ride horses know this, and you probably do as well. And so yes, there is like a deep wisdom and a kind of a mystical side of horses, and they're also very therapeutic, like energetically. So yeah, I mean, definitely listen to your call. And I know it might be intimidating because you used to be like competitive in the area and you were always on a mission, but now the mission is self-care. So think about it in that respect, and then you can get on and, just try it out for a couple of minutes and, just feel, do some like muscle memory here and just feel what it used to feel like. And you'll have some memories, and it might be a little emotional, but yeah, there's a reason you're being called to give it another go.
Yeah. And what I'm getting is change of perspective, right? And how you can be in the same place, whether you're sitting, standing, or elevated, sitting on a horse, and how you can have 3 vastly different experiences just based on where you're physically sitting. And that's going to open up something for you again. It's, I could say remembering, but this is remembering beyond Alex as the competitive rider. And this is to help you remember more of your divine nature, right? And who you really are. I mean, what's the original face of Alex across what we call time? And for you to use that, because this has been a thread for you across many different expressions, is of course the equestrian relationship or equine relationship. And for you to use that really as a form of active meditation, right? We could just be with you on your horse and nature, go ride for an hour, and just sit with yourself doing something that feels innately like home.
Yeah, I need a hobby, so that's cool that came up.
Yeah, and we can do that in Southern California.
You can do it anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you just have to bundle up a little bit, thicken your skin a little bit, Chris. It's okay. People live in other parts of the world; they live just fine.
I did that for half my life. I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
So
where would you like to take this, Alex?
I
sorry.
have
Go ahead,
something
Chris.
else. Sorry.
Tina?
Yes. So before I tell you this information, I've been prompted to ask you how, when you look at the ocean from a cliff, what do you feel? How do you see the sea? How do you see the ocean?
Wow. Magical and deep and inviting and like someplace I want to be. Like I want my Barbie dream house on that cliff.
Oh, okay. And the reason that I ask you that is purely for you because I got the name and I've been searching in my own ancestry for a lot of my roots. And one of the things that I learned about Ireland is about a woman named, and I know I'm butchering this name because it's an Irish name, Grane O'Malley. It's G-R, and there's variations because I think, originally it was not spelled in English, obviously, but Graine. And then the spelling has changed. Now it would be like O'Mallory or O'Malley would be the modern like pronunciation of it, but it's O''Maille. And she was an Irish clan leader, and she was really like deeply historic and powerful. So I'm very curious as to how that because I'm asking right now, I'm like, is this like her, soul? Like, was she this person, or is this just like the energy, the embodiment of her soul home? And I'm kind of not getting any answers about that, but I am getting that name. So if you're curious, you should go look her up and see how that resonates with you.
Yeah, I don't know if I have any Irish in me whatsoever, as far as heritage, and I've never been to Ireland. I've been to Italy.
This is more soul ancestry, so this wouldn't be blood at all.
Huh. Okay.
So if anything, you'd be a split off from that soul, if anything, which I'm kind of feeling that might be the case. So there is something in it for you to kind of remember by reading about this woman's life. She was pretty brave and just, I think, considered like royalty and a princess, but she was kind of a warrior at the same time. And yeah, so definitely look her up if you're curious. And yeah, I'm also curious.
Did you say warrior or worrier?
A warrior. Sorry, my accent. W-A-R-R.
No. Just the audio was a little.
Oh, I'm sorry. W-A-R-R-I-O-R. Like she went to battle and she was a pretty tough woman.
So that fits a little bit, Alex. And I had forgotten about the Joan of Arc thing, but being the clan leader, strong, feminine, masculine, balanced energy, warrior type, certainly makes an awful lot of sense.
I feel that.
Right. And so there is a difference. And I think it's important to call this out. There's the genetic, like 23andMe, ancestry.com lineage, and that's blood lineage. And even, some of the trauma, right, that's just encoded in our DNA from what our ancestors have gone through. And then the other aspect of that is the soul level, right? So if we could just, to oversimplify it for others that may be listening, if reincarnation is a thing, what happens in between? And then why would you have chosen to become Alex Sabbag in this particular lifetime? And I think you and I have talked about that. But then there's that there's that ancestry as well, right? Which is not necessarily related to blood, although it's purported that you can actually do that as well. And I think that's something that the Rockefellers have, there's rumors and stories out there on how the Rockefeller family like would kind of reincarnate back into the same bloodline as well, which is interesting. But that's neither here or there. But there's like two separate things that then come into Alex, right? So there's the physical aspect and then the soul level aspect.
Yeah. I'll look her up.
All right, cool. So where do you want to take this now, Miss Sabbag? Cool.
Oh, I was just saying, Christina, did you have anything else?
No, I'm ready for your question.
Okay. Well, all right. That was cool. So the point that I'm in now, I guess, so my question is, am I in the right place? And I'll qualify that a little bit, just Christina, you and I haven't met. So I lived in Chicago for 17 years. I owned my own business for a decade. I left in, which was like very much in like philanthropy and nonprofit. And then I sort of was like, okay, called to do other things, left for California in May, went back to Chicago in October, sold my house, totally uprooted my life. And I'm now like a total nomad. I live between Southern California. My company's based in Des Moines, Iowa. My friends who are like my family friends, like are in Chicago. And I've got a senior citizen dog that I like haul on the plane and we just go places like pandemic, no pandemic, whatever. So I'm trying to figure out, you brought up the cliff and I'm like, yeah, I want a house on the beach. Like that's what I'm trying for. And it turns out they're really expensive. So like, I got to do some work to get that. But, yeah, am I where I'm supposed to be, wherever that is? Space and obviously time can be totally arbitrary, but.
So your initial question before you said all of that, you said, am I where I'm supposed to be? And I got a no, like just right off the bat. And I got the word stifled. Like there's like a stifling to where you are right now, where the energy is. It's like, because you are a creative, not in an artistry sense, but like an idea maker, kind of a innovator in a way. So that whatever energy you're in right now is not supporting that whatsoever. And the nomadic part of it is doing okay. Like as long as you're like, okay, good. I'm here, but I'm not permanently supposed to be here. This is good. So it's kind of like a good thing that you don't feel like you're rooted right now. And I got Southern California. So why did you move? I'm curious.
So I have to be vague for a couple reasons here.
Oh, you don't even have to answer if you don't want to.
I'll answer. It's a cool story. I mean, I'm proud of it. So I started working for a lab who was in the COVID space in May. That didn't work out. Mm-hmm. So Warrior is right there. Like it is like right in line, like for the reasons why that didn't work. Anyway, but it like was totally in line with my background in philanthropy and healthcare. I was also a caretaker for somebody who was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And like this was so the calling, and it didn't work out. And I was like, screw it. I still feel like I've been trying to leave Chicago for a long time. I need something new. And I've just been really called to California. And I spent the summer sort of like jaunting around, figuring out like interviewing beach cities all the way up to Napa, right? Like, where do I want to be? And I'm not called to anywhere specific. I got red fin apps like set all over the place. But then when that didn't work out, it was kind of like, wait, what am I doing? Like, what's my purpose? And when I came back to Chicago, like still set on selling my house, literally like everything in it. Like I've got a small closet in Des Moines and a small closet in Palm Springs. And like that, I am a minimalist, which is, I have been rooted in it like a grown up owning a house for a really long time. I don't change one light bulb. I don't want to. Like the nomad thing feels great. And so then I got hooked up with this insurance company that's a startup insurtech business in Des Moines. And like Chris was saying kind of in the intros, like I come in at the ground level and I make it real. Like that's just my game. Like I know branding, I know communications, I know PR, like whatever it is within the marketing spectrum, but it's just kind of me that pulls these different pieces together to make call it a startup or whatever entity thrive. And they are all fairly purpose driven. So yeah, I'm in the insurance industry and you can say what you want about that, but the company that I work for actually does have a very solid foundation of helping people. So that's kind of a constant. But that's why I left. And like, I've just been called to leave like forever, and I've never pulled the trigger, and I've never felt really like connected to anywhere. And it's like, well, I just finally like did it. I ripped the Band-Aid off, and the next thing I knew, my dog was doing the final lap around my place in Chicago. And I was like, I mean, that was the saddest. He was like saying goodbye. He knew. And then he jumped in my arms and off we went, like in the car with my parents at 35, moving back in with them. Like, okay. But the energy you talk about being stifled is interesting, because I'm in a place with this company right now where I want to do a lot. And it is a very like give and take with, kind of some powers that be, and just situationally, right, where you can't just like go full bore. So yeah, I do feel that. And it can manifest as maybe boredom or not challenge, but I think that's just sort of up to me to say like, but there's a way forward, and it's a viable product and business, or I wouldn't be here. Like, I'm still like getting up and getting online every day. So like, if I didn't think it was going to do anything, I would have been out. I definitely do. And I kind of had a little bit of a revitalization of it, if you will, on Friday, like being back here, and just, so it's shifting. I hope. I mean, I think it is. Maybe you're like, nope, still not. I don't know. So that's sort of the whole, like, I've just kind of been following these job, it's not a job, like just, I don't know, these opportunities. And I don't know where I want to live yet. Obviously Southern California, that's where I'm going, but I don't know where. That's a big place.
So that was where you're heading anyway, Southern California?
Yeah, mostly because my parents have a house in Palm Springs, and like that's 2 hours from anywhere I'd want to live anyway, like San Diego, Laguna, LA, like whatever. And so it was central and available. So that was kind of where I was all summer. And then I went back in December, and yeah, I can work remote, but I've got to be back in the Midwest every now and then.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the phrase I got was to get back on the horse. And I thought that was really funny and clever. And I think when I introduced you, and I said you're riding out the pandemic in Iowa, right? And I mean, I don't think you staying in Iowa is certainly ever part of a long-term strategy. So are you where you're supposed to be geographically? Yes and no. I mean, you are where you kind of need to be today. It's like this incubation period again. You're just surrounded by creature comforts and drinking hot cocoa and sitting by the fire and staring out the window and watching the snow. But, the metaphor, well, it may not even be a metaphor, it's literal at this point, is to get back on the horse and to dive into that warrior energy and own it unapologetically. Right? It's who you are. It's who you've been. And it certainly is who you are in this lifetime. And if we interpret our past expressions as providing the foundation and context for living the life that we're in, then all those things happen for a reason. So what I did get, the first part of that was in between. So when you and I do our magic carpet ride next weekend and exploring not just past lives, but really the space in between. And why would you have chosen to have been this particular warrior princess? Why would you have chosen to be this witchy cauldron-y person in a cave somewhere, right? And to get context around that, and then you better understand your story. You may know who your great grandparents are, who immigrated from where, but to have this other context at a soul level, I think is going to be pretty impactful and open things up for you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're doing a magic carpet ride next weekend, Christina.
I know. I heard that. I was like, ooh, that's gonna be fun. Those are fun. So while he was talking, I got a sentence: you'll never be without opportunity. So you don't have to worry, like, if this all goes, I love the British expression, if this all goes tits up, which means wrong, or shit hits the fan, there's always going to be an opportunity for you, because you always kind of have that energy where one thing closes and you find something open already, like you're going to be fine. So don't worry about that. But I got the word consultant. So I don't know if you were thinking about doing consultancy on the side. And it's more of what I'm seeing you as consultant for is you, I like being hired just temporarily by companies where you go in. I don't want to say efficiency expert. I don't know if that's correct, but you just go in and you're like, okay, give me the information. All right, this is this. Okay, guys, you can be doing this a completely different way. If you did this, things would go smoother, or you would get to your goal and your plan and things like that. So I don't know if you're thinking about that as kind of a side hustle, in addition to being employed, or if you are already a consultant, like you're, a 10, what is it, a 1099 or whatever. But I'm getting that kind of like, you're kind of a bull by the horns kind of person, where your information and your experience and the way that you operate and the way you deliver information would be quite helpful to businesses that are aligned with your focus.
And one more bit to add to that, and this is kind of coming back to the horse thing again. So I'm keep getting like lines here. And so the first was lose control. And so one, I'd like to ask you, like, when is the last time, or do you recall the last time where you felt like you were no longer in control and being swept up or swept away by something or someone or a circumstance or a particular moment in time? And then what I heard was reckless abandon, right? Where you surrender yourself to being in that moment, even though it may be dangerous or not safe, or, for a myriad of other things. And then it brought me back to the horse, and how when you're riding the horse and you're in a full out sprint, and if something happens to that horse, I mean, your life is in danger, right? So there's something very exhilarating about being in those moments of taking those hairpin curves, being on a horse or, in a Carrera Turbo or whatever it might be. But when's the last time that you had a moment where you just completely surrendered yourself to being there?
Oh God, I don't even know. I mean, in a good way, I think you mean, like, not when you're like badly spiral, like a good, like, to me, I just picture like, when was the last time I was like, just really in it, like on a dance floor, like in your.
Sure. Right.
I don't even know.
I got an image just now of you riding a mechanical bull.
I've done that.
Oh, did you feel like you were losing control there?
I felt like I was really good at it because I have a lot of riding horses. So I'm like, I can own this thing. Side ladies, I got this one.
Yeah. That's the energy I'm feeling around that for sure. Yep.
Yeah, I would say that is something that I would really like to do. And I thought I might have an opportunity to like let loose a little bit, like over a New Year's Eve trip, but I got sick.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I would have to really think about that, but that just sounds right, like in line with something I would love to do. Like,
it just feels like it's been too long, right?
Yeah. Like, you're like, can I make out with a stranger in a bar, please? Like,
yes, that falls under reckless abandon. It's on my checklist right here. Yeah.
Especially
right now, Chris, you can't do that in the pandemic.
I know.
Or can you? Because that's an extra level of reckless abandonment.
COVID kissing.
That's really pandemic roulette right there.
But you could get on a horse and go into a full out sprint.
I totally could do that.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a good feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally, when we hang up this phone, I'm calling my old trainer. Like,
it's
gonna be today.
Yes, and we want pictures because we'll use that as a cover for the podcast episode.
Yeah,
she's back on the horse.
Polish my saddle that's downstairs collecting God knows what.
Nice.
I can't remember something Christina said, and I had something, but I lost the train of thought.
Oh, good. It'll come back. What was next on your list? Was that, one, did that answer the question or help around, are you where you're supposed to be?
Yeah, I think something that I've been listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks, as I told you, and I think something that was really refreshing. I mean, she's got a lot of things that like you're like, oh, okay, there's a lot, right, to take in. It's good stuff, but something that I really enjoyed that she said was like, it's the fun is the journey. And you've said to me a lot, like, but is that fun or does that feel good? Because I'm like very like I have some goals, right? And we can go there, but and they're not like, I didn't think my life would be what it is right now. Like 35, single, no, sell my house, like no babies, like what? I didn't think that. But she was really like, it's the journey. And so, I mean, I've always kind of known that, I don't know, in theory, but living it, it's like, I don't think I appreciated, I mean, I've done a lot. Like I've gone on the craziest first dates you can imagine. So like reckless abandon is right in my back pocket. Like I will say yes to almost anything. And so I kind of think I want to get back to that a little bit because that's way more fun than like that whatever rigidity I thought I was supposed to have, like getting older. Like, I don't know, I look 25. Why can't I behave like I'm 25 sometimes? Like,
Well, if that's not the perfect date advertisement, I don't know what is. She says yes. That's everything.
She says yes.
Well, I mean, God, I mean, literally, like, so I had this feeling, not really knowing anything about Akashic records, or kind of thinking that because I was raised Christian, and so I'm still like, heaven's real. I believe in heaven, and then there's the rest. So it's opened up a lot of dialogue with a lot of friends that I think have a faith based like upbringing and still present within their life, and then going through this kind of stuff is just opens up a lot more, information, and I think opportunity for spirituality, which has to me been very, very positive. But I got this feeling, I was like, I need to work with Chris. Like, I don't know what the heck he does, but it sounds like something that I'm going to benefit from. I called our mutual friend, Robin, who you've interviewed before or coached before like this. And she was like, I just was thinking about the two of you. And so it was like this very like, aligned situation. So I, when I have, things that I want to do with working with Chris, like finish my book. Step one, I was like, if we do nothing else, like that book needs to be done. That is your job for this. And whatever else sort of happens is a bonus. But everything I ask him, I'm like, where's my husband?
Yeah, so I'm going to butt my lip on this one, Christina, and just turn it over to you.
Yes, I already got that when you were talking about being single. So I haven't gotten an answer if it's a yes or a no, because it kind of depends on what you want. Because at this point, it's not going. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize everybody else's marriage experience. By the way, 41, not married, no children. I'm pretty happy. So, it's a great lifestyle. I agree. With that said, I don't know much about marriage, but what I do know is the younger you are, the more kind of you change your lifestyle around the marriage, I find. And for you, that's definitely not the case. So if you do decide that it is in your life, it would be a different mindset for you. And it would be kind of taking inventory of not what I could offer, but what could I get offered that would embellish my life versus change it or drive in a different direction. Like, you have goals, you have dreams, they're going this way. And so an ideal pairing for you would be anyone working kind of on their own way as well. But like, there's kind of a middle ground where you both are kind of driven, and the energy and the support within the relationship really helps foster you guys to be better people so that you can accomplish the things that you want to in life. So that would be an ideal pairing. But for you to get to that place, like, there's like the fun side of you, but then it's like, there is a little bit of like a mind shift that does need to happen, because it's not like, I just don't see you happy and like, oh, we're so in love. No, it's kind of like you're a little bit, you do need to be like, there is some love about it, right? But then there's another part of it is like, okay, does this guy, the energy that he gives off for me, does this person really, like, can I see in 5 years how a life together, how a relationship can be supportive of what I want? What does he bring to the table that I need? What do I need? Kind of thing. So I don't want to say it's like a business negotiation. It would not be a business negotiation, but it would definitely be for you to slow down and go, okay, what do I really want here? What do I really need in order to feel like this is worth it for me?
Yeah,
that's what I got.
I like that. But it's a possibility. I mean, you like, it's
definitely. I'm looking at like a fork in the road. So it's kind of up to you.
Oh, when? Like now? Or, I mean, time's hard, but.
Yeah, no, anytime. It's kind of like up until now, your energy is kind of just, oh, I'll just play the field. Let's see what's out there. And it's like, if you shifted your energy towards like, you know what, guys are just fun to have around, then you'll go that way. But if you really just go, you know what, I would really like this, and almost like meditate about it, journal it, write down what you need in a partner, and also a couple of things that you could probably give to a partner, a couple of your selling points as well. And, you have a lot. And so, yeah, just slowing down, thinking about that. And then instead of just going out to have a good time, going out to have a good time with those things in mind. It just by acknowledging that they're there is going to help out. And then, yeah, you could go the other way too. Does that help?
Yeah, I think the most important part is like by my fault has always been like I just give and then I lose myself and the last time around the block here, I gave it all. Like it was, it was tragic the way that it like went and ended and the whole thing. Like that was when I was a caretaker. So there is no greater gift to somebody than serving in that role. And that was like years then. I mean, it has been over 2 years where I've been like, well, who am I anymore? I gave up I gave it all. Yeah. And then now it's been a little bit of the metaphor of like, can you endure the burn to enjoy the bounty? And so I think it's been the right, I unfortunately had to learn through that experience, which was sad and tragic, but I think it was a good one, a good exercise to go through. But I think the question of what's in it for me has been hard because I've always sort of been raised where it's like, well, do your hair, do your makeup, like be that person, right? And, contribute where it's like, no, I should sit back and say like, well, let me see your resume. It is a business decision. I mean, in a lot of ways, I see it as, I think there's love and romance and I believe in like, I'm waiting for some grand gesture to fall out of the sky from Prince Charming. Call me crazy.
Right. Well, when you shift away from that, like you can still have those moments, but when you get real about it, it's like, okay, I need someone who meets my needs. So there is like two things to think about instead of just like being swept off your feet. Mm-hmm. But this helped me a lot. I've been listening to this, I forgot his name, but the guy who wrote Men Are for Mars, Women Are for Venus.
Oh, John Gray.
Yeah, that's him. He does so many interviews and shows and they're all on YouTube. Just go and listen to him. And one of the things that's always, ever since I learned this, and this wasn't particularly from him, but he did like confirm this for me. I heard that giving is very masculine. And so by you giving, it kind of did demasculinize, I think if that's a word, the man in a way, because his name's John Gray, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. His opinion is that the man should be giving more to you just by a little bit. Mm-hmm. So, and it's it makes sense. It makes logical sense the way he speaks about it. So I know that gets into like gender and things like that. And I know that's complicated nowadays. So have mercy on me, everyone. But, this information does exist out there. So if you feel compelled, go on YouTube and just see, you just look around and see what he has to say.
So you have a pretty full life, particularly outside of the pandemic living, right? What is it that you think being married is going to solve? What are your expectations?
Yeah, I think they're pretty, I can be really delusional, but I think on this one, I'm fairly realistic because I've watched a lot of marriages. I have 3 older siblings and most of my friends are married. I'm a product of a second marriage. So to me, like what the number one thing that I really want out of it is partnership. Like I'm kind of an only child, even though I have these siblings that are like 20 years older. So I was pretty much raised alone and with adults a lot. But the older I got, like sure you have friends and like your immediate family is always supposed to be in your corner, but not the way that like a spousal relationship is where it's like, I could be dead wrong and that person is going to defend me. Like I want that bond. And like, I think that's been missing as I've like kind of looked into how I was as a kid. Like I had a great life. Like I wanted for nothing. Like my parents are wonderful people. Like, of course they screwed me up and now I'm repairing it, but that's everybody. But that is the one thing that that I don't have. And there's been things that I've gone through, especially like in the last few years that I'm like, man, I just want that person who's like, puts her fist down at the dinner table and is like, she's right. Or she's, like, I just want to be adored in that way. Cause I think I've shown that in the past and I have the ability, I grew up in an I love you house. So like, I'm not fearful of those emotions. Like I welcome it. I want that. And I know that like I can give, and Chris told me to stop giving and I tried. I've really pulled back.
It's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, I'm a better planner. Men are terrible planners. I plan everything and I get it all right. And then they just like walk into the scenario and they're like, well, this is nice. I'm like, yeah, no shit. I put it together. So
that would be interesting when you work with Chris next week on your magic carpet ride to maybe explore past lives to explain why you're just such a giver, why you can't just stop giving. Like, was there a lack, and that would be very interesting for me to know if you would give him permission to report back to me. I mean, of course we wouldn't put it on the podcast. Okay, cool. No, because I'm like, ooh, that would be something probably in like spiritual ancestry kind of deal.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. And from my own experience, and I think I've shared some of this, but when I met Meredith, my wife, it's like right around that period where I just said, okay, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what I was doing before, because it clearly was just, it was time for me to grow up a little bit. And that's not what I'm saying is for you, but it required a significant shift in relationship. And it's no surprise now, looking back on it 10 years later, that it's worked. But at that particular moment, and it was a really wonderful one night stand that I didn't want to end. And this was after a myriad of other experiences, just like being really thorough. There's a line in the movie Chasing Amy, and I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it's fun and it's a good watch. So I was really thorough, by the time I found you. And so there's just like going through and okay, I don't want this, I don't want that. And it's the same thing with identification. And okay, this is not who I am, and this is not who I am, and removing all of those bits that just don't fit. It just took me being really honest about myself to myself to get to a place where I could actually hold space for that relationship. And even then, and where it is now, is radically different. And if Meredith were to tell me, that she found someone that she just connected with, and it was going to help her just transcend what exists for her today, I wouldn't deny her that. And it's a weird thing to say, but it's built so much now on communication and constantly, to your point earlier, Alex, and just trying to make each other better and giving each other space to be able to do that. And that's what has made this particular marriage strong and relationship strong for me, was being really open about that being the core premise. Like, yes, we'll take care of Hudson and I'll take care of you, but you're going to give me space to take care of myself. And I think we both said that to each other. And that's what's made this. I don't know if it's going to last another 40 years, right? I mean, if it does, great. If it doesn't, okay, fine. And I'm sure it's all for, a reason. But I know that from that point to this point, it's been a transcendent experience for all of us, even my oldest two boys. When you've been on these dates, let's say a date gets past like date 2 or into date 3, have you shared that? So less about the Barbie dream house and more about like, I want a space to grow, and I want someone who needs and wants space to grow and to support each other and make each other better humans and better versions of ourselves.
Kind of. I mean, I'm pretty straightforward with like, if asked what I'm looking for, and it's not about, I'll buy my own Barbie dream house. I don't need them for that.
Yep.
But I don't know, like some of them want to go there and some of them don't. And it's, maybe it's just my own hang up, but I feel like when somebody dates a woman that's 35, it's like, ooh, she's going to want to like fast track this and push out a baby, like, right. Biology. And so I really try to stay away from that because I think I'm super fertile and can have babies for another 10 years. So that to me doesn't even like cross my mind. And if it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. And I'm not freezing my eggs. Like I'm not playing God around that. So I'm pretty like, I try to keep it just pretty light. I mean, I ask questions and then, for me, like if I'm dating older, they're divorced or maybe not yet. And it's delicate, right? Like it's trying to, there's not a lot of people who are like I haven't at least recently dated a lot of people that are in their like late 30s or 40s that haven't been married. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of a different space.
Yep.
So, and I also haven't like lived in the same city as any of them in 9 months. I mean, it's been, so that really changes the dynamic when it's like, am I just going to leave? I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking, but it's just been pretty surface.
Yeah. I think that's a pull just to get you back out to California too. Right.
100%.
Yep.
Let's go.
By the way, I would like to mention. Oh, sorry. What'd you say?
I said, we know Midwestern men aren't really my bag.
Oh,
they're not your Sabbag, right?
No, I don't want to watch football. What about me screams I want to watch football?
Let's go do something. No, I'm also very single, and maybe I would like partnership too, but the times when it's been the biggest ping is when I had the roach problem last summer, and I had a giant roach at like 11 p.m. across the room looking at me. I'm looking at him and I'm going, dang it, I want a partner. I really want a partner at the time like this. Or I look up and there's a spider right above my head. You know, it's just like, no, why I have to deal with this? I have to do this by myself. So yeah, I get it.
I said the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
All right. Well, I think we have time for one more deep dive on a question, Alex. Go for it.
Well, is anything else coming up? I don't know. I have a couple other questions, but I don't know if there's like a way or direction you guys want to take it.
Well,
there's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Nope.
No, go. Okay, I'll go.
Nope, you're going.
Well, it's just while you were talking about kids, I asked about kids and I immediately got this brick wall come down. And I was like, whoa, what? And they're like, no. This is part of her whole soul lesson. Like, this is like step 1. So we can't show you what happens after this. I'm like, oh. So I asked, what's the life lesson that she's working on? They're like, well, in the past, she hasn't in a lot of her lives, she was the strong female that didn't really need anyone. And so in this life, a theme that she kind of signed up to address is how to have a partnership, how to have a relationship. And that is kind of like where she is right now. And that's why we're showing you 2 paths that you can go either way, because if you don't do it in this lifetime, it's going to carry over to the next one and the next one. And this is like a soul level thing, right? So you are here to work on that and to address that for yourself. So you're exactly in the mind space that you need to be in order to move forward in that area.
So one of the things I wrote down was, is there like a blockage or something that's like preventing me from like meeting my soulmate, which maybe we have like 10. I don't think there's just one person for everybody, but
well, yeah, there are soulmates in different areas, you know, that are not necessarily romantic partners. So, I mean, don't think, because when you say soul level, you're putting these expectations on it that are like a little bit more romanticized. So instead, and this is from them, they're like, instead kind of frame it a little bit different. Like, how would you want to frame it? As like the perfect partner for me, my partner, my future partner in life, my future partner in crime, instead of like my soulmate, because then everyone's disappointed, because you might not even, I will say that in a partnership, there can be a line to like, okay, you guys have contracted to come in and be the partners, but there's also the learning experience. And I think that's where you are, where it's like, it could go either way, because part of your soul work is to figure out what you want and go that direction in this life. So there's no blockage. The only thing that's like, there's no prevention here, you know, there's just work. Chris, what do you got?
No, it's just, so the theme over this topic for me with Alex has been, you know, we're cleaning stuff up.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
And
it's like, what do you want?
Yeah, we're like, it's like going and doing like rotator cuff. You're going in and cleaning out the debridement, and we just keep chiseling away.
That's right. Because if it's soul level, like I'm seeing, and then obviously this is going to be a little effort, you know, it's not, and I know that might be a little disappointing to some people if they hear that, where it's like, oh man, I just, you know, why do people meet at like 18 years old, get married and have like 60-year-old marriage? Like that. Well, no, you're here for a different reason. They partnered up for a reason, and whatever their soul reasons were. And, you know, it's a different story for you. And but when you start to think of that, like if you start comparing others, like looking at their lives, like, why is it so easy for them to pair up? You know, why is it this way? Why is it that way? Well, look at the gifts that you have. There are people out there that want to be in your shoes, a nomad, an independent woman who knows what she wants, and, you know, in this stage of life. So, you know, there are people looking around at your life as well. So
yeah, that's a great point. So what I got there, Christina, is like, Alex, you are living the dream life. It just may not be your dream life right now. It's somebody else's. And this is right in alignment with what you're sharing, Christina, and that, you know, then it's a relationship to what you do have and what you've afforded yourself today. And even and even just enjoying 35-year-old version of Alex, who at 37 or 38 could be a radically different experience. If you take one fork and you end up marrying somebody, like, yeah, this is going to be good enough, right? And then, there's a possibility that you could look back 3 years from now and saying, wow, I think maybe I kind of wish I had gone on the other fork. And so the exercise there is, and I can send some stuff to you around this, and it's really stoicism and taking a negative perspective on your current situation, and then looking at someone who, of course, has. I could just look across, in San Luis Obispo down by the creek, and there's a bunch of people with tents when I was down there running this morning, and there's garbage everywhere. And it's like, well, okay, yeah, that could be my reality. And I could see where in my lifetime that was a possibility, to say, fucking go off grid. So just be grateful for what we have is an oversimplification, but to go through that exercise a couple times a day and saying, okay, yeah, this is where I am. And I do have it great. And I am living the dream life. It just may not be mine. And just to sit with that is worthwhile enough. Christina.
And I also got the word forgiveness, self-forgiveness. And I'm getting, there is some healing to be done with that, because there's a part of you that you do look back at like mistakes that you've made in relationships and with past partnerships and things like that, where you're really hard on yourself because, you expect excellence from yourself, and how dare I make those mistakes? Well, you did mention earlier, you're like, okay, I learned from that. Yes, you need to focus on that. And don't just say it to make you feel better. You need to feel that is correct, because you're gathering information so that you could get to a better place, get to a better person, get to a better situation. So my recommendation from them is to definitely have you shown her how to do Akashic records for
Not
herself?
yet. Nope.
Okay.
We're going to do our first, giving her the prayer on Sunday.
Oh, perfect. Okay, great.
Spoiler
because
alert.
Getting that, you do need to go into the Akashic records, and you need to sit with the forgiveness theme. You need to ask questions that explore that, so as the human side of you can get the answers that need to kind of almost like spackle into the cracks, so that you can also move forward in a little bit lighter way for yourself. And also, when you do forgive yourself, it makes more space for what you want, because then you're not at a deficit. You're now going to be on the offensive versus the defensive. And that because you did ask, am I blocked? I wouldn't say it's blocking. I would say that this would be something that you might want to start exploring for yourself, is extending yourself some grace.
Well, I think some of that happened a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it feels, I don't feel like I'm not actively beating myself up over past stuff at all. So that's interesting that comes up, because I don't feel like that. I've let, it's been a lot. The last time around, again, was pretty traumatic. So that was kind of a lot to get through. Mm-hmm. But we, no pun intended, buried that a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, that's good. What did you really bury it? Like, as in, like that was the visual? That's cool.
Well, I wrote a letter to myself that told myself what I was about to experience with this person. And this person, like 7 months in, was diagnosed with brain cancer. That's what I did, was be his caretaker. And so, I thought this guy was like, with Fast and Furious, and there was no one on this earth that I would marry except for him. Like, it was just felt so serendipitous and then so tragic, like soon after. And I felt all those things. Like, to me, I was like, no, I just want to learn how to be in a relationship. Like, all I was asking for was more time and space to like fight over the kitchen counter being dirty, like not deal breaker stuff, just like normal. Let me duke it out. I'm an only child. I'm a brat. I don't want to share a bathroom. Like, let me go through that process. And we did not get that. Needless to say, we didn't get the opportunity to do that. So like, there was a lot of like, wow, I tapped for this, and Chris asked me to do this letter. I can send it to you, Christina, if you want to read it, but it was very much like, okay, here's what's about to go down. And it's, it's okay. Like, kind of gave myself permission to, feel it, experience it, and fall apart from it. Cause it was, there was no other place to go, but like completely fall apart after that. So you've
been through it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, while you were speaking, I did get, yeah, while you have done some work in that area, definitely like ask the Akashic records when you're alone in your Akashic records, do mention the word forgiveness again and see what happens. I'm getting that really strong recommendation.
Is this like, is it just with relation to like romantic partners? And I have two questions there. Like, one, do I possibly know my ideal romantic partner? And the second question is the forgiveness also relating to any like immediate family or parental relationships?
I'm getting the forgiveness. You need to explore that, like just forgiveness. So maybe all areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is personal work that we can't do for you. I mean, you've done work with Chris, and I'm sure that's been pretty profound and has moved you along, but there's something in it that, it's like, and that's what, yeah, I'm being told to prompt you towards is like that kind of like, just go in by yourself and, see what happens. The other one, what was your other question? That was so one was about could it be other people, and the other one, I'm sorry.
Do I possibly know who, like, have I met the person that could be my potential?
Oh, okay, yeah. So I don't know how to explain this, but it's like discover the partner by discovering yourself.
Okay.
I know that's so vague and so like, oh, wooey and spiritual and that, but I really like, that's what they told me. It's like the way forward is in you. The way forward is the meditation, like on the horse. The way forward is letting yourself experience joy. The way forward is understanding what you require of a partner, understanding how to give and receive, but more of like giving yourself permission to receive, and what might that look like for yourself. Those things are the key to finding what is needed for you.
And I want to be really clear here, because that's not always the answer. In fact, typically we get some specificity around this, whether we're working together on the podcast or working with other people. But this has been pretty consistent, Alex, with you and I. And it's been like a series of non-answers around a couple of questions, which is why I was really fascinated to do this exercise with the three of us. It's to continue to work on yourself, right? And then the more you dive in and spend time improving your own relationship with yourself, who am I not, these types of things, and having tools to be able to do that and becoming really comfortable in yourself. I was about to say in your own skin, but that's superficial, but just being like, oh, all right. And having a holistic 360-degree perspective on Alex, the yin and the yang, the divine masculine, the feminine, all aspects. And like, okay, this is who I am. And then would you be ready for that sort of a transcendental experience with a potential partner? Now, going down the other road is totally fine too, and just having fun, right? And that's like, then there's no wrong in doing it. But a reason why you feel compelled, it's like, okay, I want a partner, is because at some level inside of yourself that this is what is to be worked on. And you've already started the work, right? Whether it was learning about yoga and how to teach yoga and work with me and with others. It's like, okay, there's a willingness and this calling to really discover who you are. And that's what it's all about anyway. So I'm grateful, right, that we get to do this. And I'm grateful that I can call you a friend. I love the hell out of you. And all I want is for you to just be able to experience yourself the same way that I see you. And that's beyond like Alex, the badass, sexy female boss lady on a horse. But at a soul level, like, yeah, like this is Alex, and you just lighting up the world. And that I'm looking forward to seeing even more of.
Yeah. Well,
That's
Alex, well, first of all, Chris, thank you for introducing me to Alex. It was fun to play in your records today, Alex. So thank you for letting me do that for you.
You're welcome in there anytime. Hop in. Send me little notes.
Yes, we've got the passports, Christina.
And I do want to say something about what Chris said, because I don't know any of your work with Chris, but now I do, because he said, a lot of vague answers around these questions, right? And I really hope that you don't go away thinking, well, can someone just tell me an answer? That's like, all I want is someone to tell me that answer, like.
Oh no, I treated Chris like my magic 8-ball in total, like just fun and games. I'm like, all right, here we go. And it's been a consistent theme, but I get it. I mean, I think there's, I lived for a lot of other people, a lot of different times in my life. And so it makes a lot of sense. I think I know who I am to a very large part. But I think there are some things that I'm getting more comfortable with. And of course things shift, right? You can get to know yourself one day and then it totally changes 2 days after that. It's a bit like COVID. You're negative one day, you're positive tomorrow. Who knows what happened in the meantime? So yeah, I think there's that. The only other thing I just want to tell you about Alfie. And so I have a 14-year-old senior Yorkie that is like everything. I know. And he was like the best decision I ever made. I got him. He's been through college and quarantine. I just want to make sure he's happy.
Oh, definitely. But you think that you're giving him something, but it's actually reversed. And it's like, the joke's on you.
Oh, it always has been.
Yeah. It's like, the joke's on you. He is your source. He is your servant, even though you do have to do physical things with him and like take him out and, walk with him and stuff like that. It's like, he knows more than he lets on. It's like the old turtle in the sea. And, like there's a mysticism about him, but it's just like, joke's on you. Like, all this time you thought you were taking care of him, and that was not the case. And you have had partnership with him as in, a spiritual partner as well. So I will say that it's very interesting that you bring it up with him being such an old soul with you. It's been a 14-year celebration of life for the both of you, right? Together. And so it's very interesting that now you're moving into maybe perhaps a different headspace and a different phase of your life. And that, now that he is older and that you have actually been receiving the whole time, that makes sense now.
Yep.
And he's definitely happy. As long as he's with you, he's happy. And he definitely says a big thank you to you. And I just see him kind of almost like the Sphinx just sitting next to you. Like, yeah, we're in this together. Mm-hmm.
Yep. And man, he is destined for me to be alone forever. Oh boy. That is very much the joke's on me. All right. Well, good. He's just the best. Bossy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Alfie. Thanks, Christina.
And thank you to everybody, all of you, and the other space too. And Chris, I'll see you next week.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Thanks,
Ciao.
everyone.